Welcome back to the Nanaimo Now channel. I'm your host, Guelo60. I'll always be your host on this channel. It's just the way it is. See, this isn't the first time I've set up a YouTube channel. I've been doing this for about 5 years, but on my other channel called Guelo60, it's basically been out of mainland China. I spend a lot of time in China. Actually the better part of the last 19 years have been spent in China. But that's not what this video is about. Well, it sort of is in a way. There's going to be some comparisons between what's going on in Canada, the United States, and China at this moment concerning the violence on the streets. You know, I've only been back in Canada here for maybe 4 or 5 months, and I've seen things that I've never seen in China. I've seen violence on the streets. I've seen homeless people. I've seen mentally ill people. I have seen people eating out of garbage cans. I have seen people dumpster diving. I have woke up this morning and a person got shot by the RCMP in Nanaimo yesterday. Okay, all over the news. Man and woman were arguing. Police were called, showed up, and it ended up that the police shot him and killed him. Okay, well, I'm not going to say whether that's right or wrong or whatever. It's a tragedy and that's just the way it is. But mass shootings are coming to Canada. You look across the border in the United States, over the years, since the beginning of 2022, there's been 1 or more mass shootings per day so far this year. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3 a day, sometimes more. They've had a rash of school shootings, just walking into stores and shooting people, disgruntled employees, just it's rampant. And you blame it on the guns. Well, it's the guns' fault. Well, you know, obviously part of it is. But you'd think that being Canadians, we wouldn't do this. Well, go back to Nova Scotia here not too long ago. 22 people died in a mass shooting, the biggest one in Canadian history. 22 people. That's massive, guys. But just here not too long ago, well, a couple days ago, a shooting in Whistler. Yeah, I'm looking at it on the internet right now. Let me get to that one. Daylight Whistler shooting leaves 2 dead, linked to gangs behind me or in front of me. You know what I mean? It's getting rampant. Langley, just what is it? Southwest of Vancouver here a couple days ago or yesterday. Langley, 3 confirmed dead, including the suspect, but multiple shootings, you know, after a multiple shooting in Langley. Well, this is lower mainland. This is our territory here, guys and girls. So you've got gang shooting in Whistler. You've got a shooting in Langley where 3 people died, the shooter being one of them. You got the RCMP shooting a person in Nanaimo here. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, seriously, okay, let's yeah, Nova Scotia, 22 killed. 22 killed. Like, and it's not just big communities like, well, Nanaimo's 100,000 plus. That's not a big community, guys. When I live in China, I live in a city of 8 million people, and that's a small tier 2 city. A small city as compared to what, you know, you got Chongqing, it's over 30 million people. You got Shanghai, Tianjin, you've got Beijing and Guangzhou. You've got some pretty major cities there. They don't see the violence. The police don't carry guns over there because they don't have to, because the society doesn't have guns. Well, in the West, we have the right to have guns. We're hunters. We go hunting and stuff like that. And then you get the government, and yes, I do tourist videos in Nanaimo. I did tourist videos in China. I do opinion pieces in Nanaimo, I do opinion pieces in China, I do political pieces here, and I do, so it's not just one type of video I do all types of videos, and this one is sort of an opinion piece, and you get the Canadian government saying, well, you can't carry that gun because you can't buy that gun, we're putting a freeze on these guns, and you know, bad or good, it's entrenched into our society now. In China, it's not. They don't have guns in China. And 1.4 billion people. How would you police that? How would you know what I mean? So it's apples and oranges when you're comparing the two, because I know there's a lot of people out there who say, well, how come you speak on behalf of the Canadians having guns and you speak on the behalf of the Chinese having guns? Well, it's a different society. They look at the world differently, and that's the way it is. But as the government here takes guns away from law-abiding citizens, you think the criminals give a rat's ass about that? When there's a handgun ban, you think that they're going to a store to buy their handguns? You know what I mean? Like, so it's ridiculous. But anyway, back to the moral of this whole opinion piece is that my idea of this phenomenon of Canadians starting to do mass shootings, more violence, is mental health issues. Mental health issues. Not only are a lot of people on the verge of reality as it stands, but there's a lot of people on drugs. There's a lot of people losing hope in the world. There's a lot of people that can't afford to rent an apartment, rent a house, rent a room, buy proper food, own a car. There's no chance of a future. And if there's no chance of a future, it's not a big step from that to mental instability, and it's not a big step from mental instability to picking up a gun, a knife, a 2x4 and killing another person. And I think that's what you're seeing here. Back in the day, I'm a boomer. I grew up, I was born in 1960. Back in the day, I come from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan originally. Well, Weldon, Saskatchewan, just out of PA. And we had North Park Centre. It was a mental institute. So if you were crazy, let's call it crazy, if you had mental issues, if you were a drug addict and needed help, if you had any type of mental issues, there's a place that you could go and get help. Hell, now, today, you can't even get a family doctor. I tried to get an appointment with a doctor and he said, no, you can't do that. You don't have a family doctor. You can call a number on the weekend here in Nanaimo, and you can get a doctor will phone you back, and that's how you see a doctor now. I know. So if you're on the street, if you've got mental issues, if you've got drug addiction issues, if you know, how the hell are you going to see a doctor when somebody like me that has resources, telephones, home, all of this stuff, can't see a doctor? Yeah. So I think the system is broken, and it's one of those things that it's up to government to fix this. See, I rant. I do these rants every once in a while, but it's up to government to fix this, because they're the one that screwed it up. They're sending the tax dollars that you pay somewhere else. They're not putting it into the health system. They're not paying the doctors. They're not paying the nurses properly. They don't have the facilities to deal with the problems that we've got. And after all of these problems manifest themselves into something bigger and bigger and bigger, as you see it happening right now in your world. You go downtown in Nanaimo, do you see homeless people walking around with blankets on? Well, maybe not in the summertime, but in the wintertime you do. You see tents, you see garbage, you see people that are destitute. You think about these people and how they would get out of a situation like that. Think about it. Okay, you get a job at McDonald's, you get a basic job. You're a single person, you don't even make enough money to pay rent in Nanaimo for a one-bedroom apartment. So are you going to get rent, pay all you got to put a damage deposit down. You've got to you got to pay your power. You got to, you need clothes on your back. You need food in your stomach. You need all of these things. So how are you going to pay for all that stuff? So when they lose hope, what have they got left? How do they get out of that? Maybe it's easier just to go shoot somebody and go to prison for the rest of your life. 3 squares, a doctor, then you get to see a doctor. Oh yes, you do. You got 3 squares a day, you've got a cot, you've got a gymnasium, you've got a television set with all of the channels on. You probably even have computers and stuff like that. So once a system is broken to the point where it is right now, and it's getting worse and worse and worse every year, how do you think that we're going to, as a Canadian society, work our way out of this? Is it going to get worse? Are you going to allow your government not to do their job and keep going down this path? So, when you see shootings in Whistler, and when you see shootings in Langley, when you hear about school shootings in Brampton, when you hear about shootings, police having to shoot somebody in Nanaimo, when you hear about 22 people dying in Nova Scotia from mass shootings, when you hear shootings all across the United States, because you see, the United States is basically the same as Canada, only they have 10 times the population. So when you see homeless people all the way down the western seaboard, in Los Angeles and Tacoma and Seattle and San Francisco and tent cities and drug addiction and all of this stuff, you wonder where this comes from, why it wasn't like this 25 years ago. Well, it's because of the government putting money that's supposed to go here into something else. What are they putting it into? Because obviously it's not as important as what it was in the past. So think about this. See, I do these videos, sometimes touristy to see, oh, this is good. Sometimes opinion to say, oh, make you think. Sometimes political because I get pissed off at the government and the way that they run things. But when you watch a video like this, maybe it'll spark something. Maybe you'll make a phone call. Maybe you'll vote differently the next time. Anyway, that's another video on the Nanaimo Now channel from Guaylau60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button, resubscribe if you got kicked off, because YouTube does that on a regular basis. You could be a bot. You know what I mean? And thanks for watching. Until next time, peace out. Bye now from here in Nanaimo.